Welcome to the garden, or if you've been with us before on streams, welcome back to the garden. It's been such a long time since I've been on stream that I figured I would post a video to my social media in order to give you all an update on our progress and what we've seen in the garden. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it, and sorry for the shoddy camera work. I'm a one-woman show and I don't know what I'm doing. So, most of this will be handheld, so I'm so sorry for that. Here is our green stock. We're getting another round of strawberries in right now. We have some of our herbs growing in quite nicely. We have some chives down here that are really taking off. We just cut off watering for the garlic and the onions, so those are about 3 to 4 weeks out from drying out. And then we'll come around here, and these are our gourd beds and pumpkin beds. They're starting to take off, and they're doing really, really well. Some of our summer squashes are in another bed, and they're doing much, much better. That big container back there is horseradish. That's a 2-year project, so we probably won't see anything out of it this season, but we should next season. I see lots of swarming activity in here, so that's a good sign. We have some rosemary in this little planter and some thyme in this planter. And then we have our blueberry plant, our peppermint. And then we went and got some transplants from one of the big box stores because our mint wasn't taking off. And then one of my flowers wasn't taking off, so I got an echinacea there. We have a tomato plant that's doing really well. You can actually see that there's fruits starting to form on here, which is great. And then we have some celosia coming in just barely down there. And then our poppies come and go very quickly. So I've never grown poppies, but they are very interesting. They seem to come and go before you know it, and they just dry up and fall apart very quickly. We have 2 different oregano varieties there. We have our lavender plant. We have our zinnia. It's just barely starting to sprout now. We got a late start on that one. Sorry, had an airplane overhead, so took a break for a second. And then we have our lavender plant, and then we have some purple variety sweet peas that are growing in. This is the summer squash bed that's taken off. You can see we've got one down there, and we have lots of flowers throughout this bed that are really starting to show signs of life. So hopefully we'll get enough pollination on its own. If we don't get enough pollination, what I'll do is I'll come through and I'll hand pollinate with some of the male and female flowers on this one. But this essentially vined out of nowhere, and it really took off. I actually need to add to it a little bit. And then we have our perennial plant over there. I think that's our bee's balm. Our potato plants had to get moved temporarily. We're staining the fences, so we had to move everything out of the way. Our tomato bed is doing quite well with our sunflowers. Our shallots in the front row there, we've pulled the watering from that because that's one of the onion varieties that we will let dry out so that the skins can harden a little bit and we can take those out. All of our tomato plants are doing quite well. They've all recovered. All of them had a little bit of fungal stuff that was going on with the leaves. We were able to cut off the leaves on those plants that were struggling, and they're all doing quite well right now. We actually have a bunch of different tomato varieties coming up. I don't know if you can see that one very well. There you go. They're starting to populate all over. And then we have a couple sunflowers in this bed that are really starting to take off too. That's one of my favorite varieties right there, but they're both very tall and looking nice. Our lettuces are past due. I need to cut them out. And then we added a eucalyptus plant because I was not having success with my own, so we went and bought one from the store. The pepper plants did dreadful. Our homegrown pepper plants, not one did well, so I had to go get some from the store. So you'll see that there's nice large pepper plants in here. Those are not the ones we grew from seed. I couldn't risk not getting peppers this season, so I made a decision to pull all of them, except for that one little guy back there in the dome. That's still one of our original plants. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 varieties that we picked up from the store, and then one left that's ours, and we have 2 sunflowers. We have our opal basil, which is growing quite nicely, and then our Thai basil, which has these beautiful purple flowers at the top. Oops, sorry. And then we have some onions, which have all fallen over, which is why they're going to the dry out stage now. And then one of the things we're doing back here is this was the cilantro plant that went to flower, and it's now gone to seed. All these little bulbs on the top, that's actually going to be your coriander. So I started to cover certain ones as they grew, as they changed from flower to seed. But now the whole plant's kind of gone, so we're good to kind of cut this out and let it dry out and get a bunch of fresh coriander. And last but certainly not least is going to be our U bed that we have. So this bed has really taken off. This was the sugar snap peas that were over here, but now we have the sugar snap peas were over here, sorry. But now we also have the beans that have taken off, the pole varieties. And then we have, the pole varieties, and then we have the bush varieties that are down here, down low. And then our Swiss chard, which is just absolutely gone off the rails. We have our first corn that's showing signs of the tassels up top, and the tassels are what actually do the pollinating, and it's a wind pollination. So that one's our first one to get tassels. We have a couple more that are getting close but not quite there, so hopefully that'll be enough. And then I picked up a random bean variety on this one down here. It's got some purple coloration to it, which is absolutely beautiful. All right, and we still are getting parsley. Some of this looks like it might be changing into seeds, so I might have to come through and cut some of that. And then we still have kale going in July. It is shocking to me as well. I picked up some echinacea coneflowers. This is a variety that I probably wouldn't plant because it's not native, but it was gorgeous, so I picked it up. And then this right here is our dill. Hold on just a second. All right, this right here is the tops of our dill. This is our dill flowering and going to seed. So similar to what I did with the cilantro / coriander, I am letting this go to seed. I'm gonna cover it with some of those bags like what we put on that plant over there. And we're gonna let the seeds dry out a little bit and keep them. And then here we have all our cucumber plants. They're just starting to take off. We've got one that's doing, this guy right here in the corner is doing pretty all right, not too bad. It's got some length to him there, but they're just starting to take off. And then we have another rosemary variety. Come back to this big monster beast that's right here. And then this at the end is our loofah gourd, and it is quite high already. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the legs on this stand, so you might hear some noise. And I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna get a measurement of where our loofah gourd is too, and I'm gonna get a measurement of that sunflower in the background. And the reason I'm gonna do that is that sunflower is massively tall, like impressively so. And it was not something I was expecting. So our loofah gourds are roughly 5 feet from the soil top. Our sunflower, if I can do this without damaging it, and this isn't even the mammoth variety that I planted. Let me get that down for a second. Is roughly, let's see, that's 5. that one is sitting at about 6 feet tall from the top of this bed. And this bed is about 2 feet off the ground. So in total, it's the top of that sunflower is hitting at about 8 feet. I did not expect that with that sunflower. It's not a variety I've ever grown before. So it's doing quite well, as you can see. So let me step back. And we did, I don't know if we were streaming when I implemented the arch. We added the arch so that we could do the support for the loofah gourds. So the loofah gourds are going to climb up and over it using the string that's intertwined with that arch. But that is where we are with the garden. Just a quick run through. If you have any questions, feel free to drop comments. See you guys soon.